So you're ready for approval of the agenda?
Go ahead.
I move we approve the agenda number 2 as presented.
There's not a
Second.
there,
I'll second that.
but could have double checked.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign.
No project implementation skills.
Minutes from the previous meeting.
Approval of minutes of October 1st. I'll second. We're getting
All in
an awful
favor?
lot of feedback on this.
Aye.
It's really feedback, I can hardly follow everybody.
Yeah.
You got feedback?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, I can even hear it ringing.
I must turn
I
mine
didn't
off.
hear that. Yeah, I do too.
I think that should pick it up if we have.
Ah, okay. Need a motion on the minutes to approve. Motion made and seconded to approve. All in favor? Aye, opposed, same side. Any other supervisors want to say anything on the sheriff's office? Annual report of the sheriff's office. I would assume that's you.
Yeah, so I had one of my fancy PowerPoints done for you guys, but I'm having trouble accessing the U drive, so I'm gonna give you the report verbally,
Thank you.
and then I'll post the PowerPoint to the web. What we kind of want to do is we're starting to produce an annual report to kind of give a synopsis of the previous year, both for the board and for the public. And we want to be more transparent to the public, so I was just gonna go over the points that's in my PowerPoint. I really like PowerPoint, so I'm very disappointed. So I wanted to start with personnel changes. We had Sheriff Walk elected in November. Deputies, the only hires we had Hunter Elson Peter hired as a part-timer. He's still with us. And then I was hired. Deputies that left, Chief Deputy Revels left in 2018. And then Anthony Putes left for the private sector. He's an engineer. He left for the private sector in 2018. Corrections, 2018 was a high year for us. We had 12 hires and 13 exits. The good part of that is we're half of that at this point this year. We've only had 6 hires this year, so it looks like we're turning that turnover around. You know, traditionally that's been a big problem in the jail, and we seem to be doing better with that. Communications, no hires or exits, although Megan Hahn was promoted to communications supervisor, which is that new position you guys created as a buffer between the dispatchers and Joe's office, so we had a little more supervision. Administrative staff, we had Sarah Strinke leave to go back to physician's assistant school, and then Lori Masters, Brian's wife, was hired to replace her. So personnel-wise, it was actually a pretty stable year. I think the big interruption was Chief Deputy Revels leaving. That caused a lot of, that slowed everything down because that position was vacant for about 7 months. So
That's your position now.
my position now. But he left in March, and I didn't come on board until September. So it was about a 7-month recruitment period of that. And that slowed the office down with Sheriff Johnson retiring and the chief gone, not a lot of new stuff was started.
Took us that long to figure you out.
It did, yeah, they had to think about it a long time before they decided to hire me. Field services performance, we had 2,520 cases. That's not calls for service, but that's actual case numbers pulled. That was a drop of 4% from 2017. That's not traffic stops and stuff like that though, because traffic stops don't get case numbers. Those are just criminal cases. We had 652 adult arrests. That was actually an 18.8% drop from 2017. Not really sure why, but there was definitely a significant drop from 2017. That's not always a good thing when you see that, to be honest. So that's something I'll be curious to see the end of this year. At 535 accidents worked, that's a 12% increase from 2017. 535. So that's a big increase in traffic accidents worked.
How many deaths?
We had 9 in 2018, and I think we're a little beyond that for this year. I think we average between 9 and 12, and it looks like we'll be in that mid-range. But we've had a couple bad ones this year. The teenagers in Clayton. We had the kid who was hit on the bike in Osceola on County Road Down. We've had some bad ones this year.
That's about the number we used to have.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting, when I looked at that, it's really kind of a stable number. So even though our accidents are up, our fatalities are not up. It's just been a bad year as far as kids dying this year.
Hey, Deputy, would we be able to get a copy of those numbers?
Absolutely, yeah, I'll make you photocopies of
Would
this.
you do that, please?
Yeah, I sure will.
Something to take home and share.
Overtime was 9.18% for 2018. That was up 0.86% from 2017. But to offset that, our grant usage was up about the same for 2018. So most of that increase in overtime, I think we stayed pretty static for field services overtime. The difficult thing about that is, if you recall, we didn't really track overtime well prior to 2017. It was just kind of all lumped together. So we're still new to this overtime tracking and that costing.
With the new hires, you plan on having less overtime?
We just ratified the contract. The union ratified on Friday, you guys ratify next week. And we're trying that new 12-hour schedule with patrol.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to see the overtime, the effects that we've seen in the jail, we're hoping to see on patrol.
That's what I picked out at listing was that, and overtime, that's always like a cost plus.
It is, and we're doing a 6-month trial period, but we're hoping we see what we see in the jail on patrol. And we're also hoping the deputies are a little happier with the schedule. They're the ones that really wanted to
They
do the schedule.
initiated that 12 hours.
They did, and they, you know, Chief Moe was never receptive to a new schedule. I've worked 12s in the past, I think it may be good for us, so that's why I'm willing to try it. Communications, the comm center took 36,997 calls for service in 2018. That was up 1.1% from 2017. Their overtime was 7.5% for 2018. That's down 1% from 2017, so that was good. And then they had 11,711 911 calls in 2018. But we do not have numbers for prior years because they weren't subdivided in prior years. That's something we started tracking in 2018. The jail, that's always been our big cost source. Cost per inmate per day in 2018 was $81.19. That's down 4.5% from 2017. So it's getting cheaper to house them per day. We had 1,517 bookings. That's within 1/10 of 1% of the previous year, so that stays stable. What I think is good about that is it shows our costs are going down, our numbers are remaining the same, and we're dropping costs. So I think that's an improvement.
How many outside the county housing do we have right now?
Right now, we account for 8 to 12 per day. That number fluctuates. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a reduction in the past few months. It's sliding down some, but we're still roughly $200,000 ahead of budget, what we thought would be on revenue this year. So, but as I warned you guys before, I don't want to get dependent on that jail revenue. Unfortunately for this budget, I was, because that sucker can stop immediately.
Yeah.
And jail overtime was 9.8% in, as opposed to salary line in 2018. That's up 1.3% from 2017. However, the good news is we're running at 5.3% overtime for this year so far, and I think that's where we're going to finish. So this new schedule has made a good dent in our overtime rate. Vehicles, we had 8 purchased. We sold 8 vehicles. That stayed a stable number. Initiatives in 2018, there really weren't many. The drone program, we bought a drone for about $15,000. I'll be honest, that program has not been successful at all. It doesn't work. So I pretty much ended the program because I wasn't going to dump any more money into it. And it wasn't laid out well, in my opinion. We didn't buy good material, and it wasn't a successful program. The drone flies for, yes sir?
I was just, you're on drones, and I saw a picture on, I think it was on Facebook, when they found that boy. And of course, it was at night, and it was amazing how those people and the dog just showed up.
Yep.
The camera that they had.
Yep. The drones, if you buy the right drones and all that, they can be highly effective, but to really buy the right ones, they're $30,000, $40,000. We put just under $15,000 into it, and we're lucky if we get 7 minutes flight time out of it. it's about 3 minutes flight time with the infrared camera. Well, Jay knows you can't do anything in law enforcement in 3 minutes. So it flies up and it comes back down. So we haven't been successful there, but I'm just not willing to put any more money into it. Sometimes you gotta cut your losses when it doesn't work and admit it was a failure. LPO, the sheriff's office started sending first and second line supervisors to leadership and police organizations, which is a 3-week class broken out 1 week each month for 3 months. We've got 95% of our first and second line supervisors trained. And that really kind of goes along with the ECHO stuff. It's just specialized training for law enforcement. And we've seen more accountability and, better performance from supervisors with that program. And then the other initiative for 2018 is we implemented the new 12-hour schedule in the jail. And I think by all marks, that's been successful. We see less overtime, we're seeing less turnover, we're seeing better applicants for the jail. So I think that one's worked well. Budgetary performance, overall, we came in 1.9% under budget because the jail revenues were higher than expected. But we finished 159,895.58 with a surplus. So you take total budget, we're about 1.9% under budget. Previous year, we were right at budget, we were 23,000 over. So, I think budgetarily we're being more responsible. Tracking this year, provided I don't have any big unforeseen costs, which I gotta be honest with, our radio system is an unknown. We should probably finish roughly the same amount under budget this year. Having said that, I believe this will probably be the last year that we really return any sizable amount of money to the general fund. Maggie knows going through the budget, we're gonna be, my budget's much more finely tuned, so we're gonna be pretty close to budget for the following years. There won't be a return to the general fund of any significant amount.
With our radio system and our purchase of our rifles and that, our assets are really higher, aren't they?
They are, and what we've done with the rifles is there's no additional capital expenditure for that. I found money in the present budget and next year's budget to buy with what we had. The radio system, is that $440,000 expenditure at the first of the year that'll come. But we've put the asset replacement plan in place for 10 years, so in 10 years we'll have enough money saved to buy it again. So it's just us basically sticking away money for a 10-year period, so these 1-year expenditures. So our asset levels are up, most definitely. I will tell you this, and this doesn't really apply to 2018, we moved to online auctioning of our vehicles as well as our seized evidence and stuff this month. And I saw about a 20% increase in the sale price on our vehicles. 2 of the people just picked them up. Like we sold 2 of our 2014 Dodge Durangos. One went for 13 and change and one went for 12,775. And we were getting about 8,000 at the auction before. So we're moving to the online, it costs us less money and we're getting better returns on it.
Yeah.
Much bigger market.
Yeah, it's a much bigger market and we're getting much better returns. So for a broken down Durango with a blown engine, we got $2,800. And we should have maybe gotten $1,000 for it. So we're gonna use that online and that generates a little bit of offset for that.
I got a question for you on that.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any way or any idea who the customer is that buys these cars?
When they do the online, yes, because they have to come to us with their sale ticket where they paid for it and their ID, and we do the title transfer and all that. So we know when they buy them.
I'm curious just what part of society buys the cars.
This guy that, I dealt with the vehicle today that he picked up today because Captain Paul's at training and my sergeants were all tied up. He's from Wausau, nice guy. He and his wife are building a house, but it's out in the country, so he needed an all-wheel drive. And he and his daughter came up and picked it up from Wausau. The guy yesterday that picked up one of the other Durangos, I don't know about his background, but he was from somewhere over in Green Bay and drove over and picked it up. So the online's been really effective for us. We even sold some old refrigeration equipment that we'd had for like 10 years from a seizure years ago, old restaurant equipment, and we got, I think, $6,000 for that stuff. And it really wasn't worth much of anything. On the crime statistics, I wanted to go over a couple things that show up. We had one murder in 2018, that is the baby death. That qualifies as a murder, the G-Way. No rapes, which I think is excellent. Robberies, we had 0 in 2018, which is unheard of. Burglaries, we saw a significant spike in 2018. We had 24 as opposed to 4 in 2017. But now our numbers are down for this year, but we really got hit hard on burglaries last year. I will say Deputy Vitalis cleared a number of them just recently. The other ones that stand out to me, stolen property was also up. It was 20 as compared to 1 in 2017, but that's going to be in relation to the burglaries. Weapons offenses were stable, and drug sale, other dangerous, and other drugs, our arrests for those were up considerably. Drug possession, other dangerous, which includes methamphetamine, we had 57 arrests that are reportable to the FBI, as opposed to 6 in 2017. Yeah, and then for drug sales, other dangerous, that's methamphetamine, we had 13 arrests in 2018 as opposed to 2 in 2017. So,
coming back.
and those are cases, those are ones that actually get prosecuted and all that. So you have a lot of cases that we arrest for, and the DA refuses prosecution or gives diversion or something like that. These are ones that actually were prosecuted. So you take that number and you double it, but we've definitely seen an increase. So, you know, we've got the new drug investigator. I think that's justified, and I think you'll probably see an even bigger spike.
Is he getting involved already?
No, they don't start till January. We're budgeted in January. Yeah. So the union contract, the new drug investigator, all that will start January 5th, the first full pay period.
Do you anticipate the drug investor will be, just your anticipate maybe somebody from in-house or?
The drug investigator will be in-house. I don't know who will hire for the deputy slot that investigator moves out of, but the sheriff and I are already looking at the investigator. And then we're going to, the investigators are also getting a modified schedule under this contract, but we're actually able, I've shuffled investigators' hours around. We will actually have investigators working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, as opposed to Monday through Friday 8 to 4 right now. So we'll actually, with this new schedule, we'll have more investigative hours.
How many investigators do we have right now?
We have 4 and a sergeant. It'll be 5 and a sergeant in January.
What's your experience and life expectancy of an investigator in the drug field?
I spent 9 years. That's a long time.
Geez, I said.
That's longer than you should. Really, 4 years is about the most you should spend in it. I was state for 6.5 and federal for 2.5. That's really longer than you should. So really 4 years is all we want to really keep anybody in dope. 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
You got to have a wife that has total patience, or you know, or you got to be ready for a divorce if you're a drug investigator.
Be your own boss, anyway.
That's right. So that's the quick and dirty of it. I can make copies of it, and I'll post the PowerPoint to the web. And we're going to start doing this annually. It'll come in earlier, and in subsequent years, I was just working on the format, and it's been kind of a busy year. But this is something the sheriff wants.
We
to
have the current and like 17 and 18, so the comparison.
Yeah, I've run comparisons throughout the slides and all that, because I think that's important to watch.
That's important to watch.
And we'll watch it. We'll probably do it over a 3-year rolling period now that we're tracking stuff. I know that's something Dana really wanted for all departments, is to watch for improvements and changes, and that's something. That's the only way we, really see if what we're doing is worthwhile. And I know you guys will be watching the drug investigator and the cost of that, and the benefit of that, so we'll make it worthwhile.
That'll be fun.
Question on that, you expect the number of reports to go up?
I do. I think what will go up is probably what's called self-initiated reports in the drug world. That's turning informants and developing your own information off trash pulls and search warrants and stuff. I think you'll see with 2 agents, you'll have much more proactive time. Right now, a lot of it is reactive. So we should see stuff go up. And the other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna structure it where we have one agent that kind of coordinates the cases, the paperwork, the search warrants, the strategy, and another agent that does a lot of field work. So one agent will do about half field work, half coordination, the other agent full field work, instead of one person trying to sort everything out on their own. And a little more efficient.
Well, that 57 number, what percentage or, roughly is just like on traffic stops and things?
I would say you're probably around, just reading, because I read the criminal complaints every day, probably 60% traffic stops, 40% investigations. And really, you want those traffic stops to continue because a lot of the informants come from the traffic stops. It's then the investigator's job to develop it into more. But I'll give you an example. Pierce County, I was at the task force meeting 2 weeks ago. Pierce County got a guy on a traffic stop with half a pound and rolled it up and got a guy from Red Wing to deliver 15 pounds into Pierce County of ice. So that's a successful investigation right there. And that
That's a
makes a
bonus.
difference. You know,
Big bonus.
that is, and to be honest, if we can we can show the public that we're taking off large amounts of dope like that, that gives the public some faith that we're making headway in the epidemic.
Transportation's everything.
It is. Any other questions, guys?
No, do you have anything on the work plan? Is that what we're dealing with? Are you?
That'd be you on the work plan, wouldn't it?
No, I'm on the budget.
You missed the budget technical amendments.
We got the old work plan.
Number 6, you gotta do yet, Jay.
That's this one here we were talking.
Next is it, the budget, technical amendments.
Do you want, okay. No, are we using this or not?
We got them on
We
the
are,
file.
okay, got it. What's that?
Turn
Turn screen. Okay, there we go. Okay. There's no technical amendments. No. So I thought I'd come and kind of review the budget process a little bit, but the most amazing part, when Chad sits here talking, he's running a $9.6 million budget, this guy right here, which I think is kind of interesting. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in law enforcement. That's all I have to say. That's just interesting.
Don't take away any of my money.
I know, we have a little argument there. So how the budget process goes, and I kind of explained it in October, is that we do an estimated budget, we do a forecasted budget. So we did, a year ago, we did a forecasted budget for 2020. In mid-year, we come with a staffing plan. So what jobs move around, people move around. We don't add any jobs to it, but we do a staffing plan that reorganizes or takes another look at our benefits and salaries. So some people change from single to family insurance, or for me, like in my case, family to single insurance, that kind of stuff. So we redo the staffing plan just before we release the budget. So it's more of a picture of what exactly will happen next year. The rest of it, all the other professional services, supplies and expenditures, is taken out. So the departments are told to, you have exactly what you need to run for next year. Now, if you need any extra money or you need anything else, put in an additional funding request. So we have, submitted from every department, we have many funding requests submitted, and the administrator takes what levy we have and looks at those additional funding requests and he evaluates them and he approves some. So when we release the budget in September to the county board, some additional funding requests are approved, and those are usually ones that don't require policy. For instance, if you're gonna put more money into remodeling this, or let's say remodeling the recycling center, remodeling the government center, building a new highway facility, that's a policy decision. Most of his are either structurally or professionally needed. So then, the committees look it over, and in October, the committees have a chance to amend the budget. This is what you did at the county board meeting. You'll see, it tells that some of them were approved and some of them were eliminated. So that's, we went back and put all that into our general ledger and rerun our publication, and when the publication was sent out, it included your amendments that you wanted in the budget. Since then, the years that Dana's been here, we are starting to have a better handle on revenues. Over the last couple of years, we've probably, we've encouraged a lot of departments to review the cost of what they're doing and make sure they're charging for it. That's what Mo's doing in Lime Quarry right now, and Recycling Center, and some of the other departments right now are reviewing what they're charging. It's really hard to figure out, like, what's my time worth and all that kind of stuff. But we have systems that can be doing that, and I think that over the next few years is going to be an initiative that should be looked at to see if we're recovering revenues. I would guess if we, sell something for $5, it's gonna cost us more. So we started the fee schedule that you guys have, and you start to take a look at, it just needs more work. It needs more work. That's some of the initiatives. Some of the other initiatives that have been set to make sure that we save money somehow with this levy is that we've kind of frozen the employer contribution to health insurance. So any additional contribution to health insurance has to be covered, over the years, is planned to be covered by the employee. These are small amounts, $23 a year, I think, for one of our plans. So the other one of the initiatives that is working real well is overtime. Both highway and law enforcement are doing a really good job of holding down their overtime. That's when he talks about we are handling it differently so that we can see it right on the general ledger. We started putting last year overtime right to an account number so that it has a budget. Let's say it's $150,000, and you can start to watch it every month and see how close that you're getting. Another place to watch is home placements with Human Services. So last year, Human Services had a deficit of $600,000 because of home placements. So we have high cost. We are court ordered to house some high cost mental whatever. That was significant to us last year to the fund balance because we had to literally take $600,000 and cover their loss. This year they're doing better. Knock on wood. I don't. And something coming up when it comes to fund balance that's happening is Greenway sold to Verasco, and Verasco has just recently signed an agreement to start paying on that $1.5 million back taxes. So we are going to be getting about $44,000 a month for, I can't remember, a couple of years anyway. So what back taxes is kind of a receivable. So when somebody doesn't pay their back taxes to the village of Balsam Lake, the county comes in and pays it. We set up a receivable that this particular person, house, whatever, has back taxes. When they start to pay it, so we take our fund balance to cover that receivable. When they start to pay it back, it starts to go back to our fund balance. So that's good news.
Our planner position was included in the budget.
He was reinstated, that were key. Yeah, the planner position was reinstated at the October county board. Yep.
Okay, anything else for us?
Good report, Maggie.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm getting all kinds of good information. Oh, do you have anything for us?
I do not. I'd like at future agendas though, if we could just put on there an update from the highway commissioner, just so I can speak and update you on projects that are happening on, not that you'll act on them, but just so an informational update on there. You guys can put that on your.
Sure, yeah.
Could that be automatic every month?
Yes.
That would help us.
Absolutely.
Should be.
And,
Okay.
and to that note, I think the sheriff would probably like a placeholder on there too, because the sheriff wants to have
Yeah.
monthly updates to the
Yeah.
committee.
People question us on those, and then we can report on that.
Hey, I would like to say for Mo's department, the new facilities manager, just in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna tell you from my perspective, it's already a massive value add to the county. What I see Rod doing from my end and my facility is just amazing. So,
That's McGee?
Rod Polk is his name.
Oh.
He's been a good asset to us. As Maggie talked about the budget process that we were on the technical amendments, our budget process has been very streamlined. We have our dedicated funds that we work within our means on it. With highway, we have a little over $1.9 million for road betterment or our construction projects, and that's what we try to fit our project and our 6-year plan into with those numbers. If we do get extra GTA, that's where we put that money, so we do get more betterment into our roads to up our GTAs. So when we go through the budget process, it's not reinventing the wheel every year. You know, there's a slight increase, and we're able to use those cost pools and move those maintenance items around to still fit within our means. And
Was there,
that makes it easy and what streamlines our budget much easier.
was there an additional increase in salt and oil costs this year?
Salt right now is up, I wanna say it was right around $4.50 a ton to $5, depending what, depot it's coming out of. So there's a slight increase on that. We're holding pretty firm on that. That number will vary as we get closer to the end of December. If I'll see where our budget sits, and if we're sitting good in our budget, I'll order a lot more salt, so it comes out of 19's budget, versus waiting till after the first of the year and having that money in the winter allocation of 2020. So I'll watch that budget number, and if we're sitting good on our budget, I'll order more salt in December to try to make sure our sheds are full. If we're running lean, I'll push that to after January, just so it comes out of the next budget cycle.
You don't anticipate that we'll be using more liquid and less annual?
It's always our goal to do that, but winter will dictate what we're doing with that. We're gonna look at more blends this year, a little more mixing of mag chloride and the salt brine, since our cheese brine is no longer available due to F&A closing. We're gonna be more in the hybrid blends with that.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
How many trucks do you have that would be able to handle the liquid?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them currently have some capacity for liquids. Including one truck we have set up now, right now, that we can run a liquid-only route. And we've been running that one on 46 here from Balsam to Highway 8, just experimenting with different temperatures to see if just plowing and spraying direct liquid on the ground would be beneficial. With 1 gallon of liquid, we're only using 2.6 pounds of salt.
Is part of that liquid a corn emulsion?
No. No, we're not using any beet juice distillate right now. It's either mag chloride or straight salt brine.
Anybody else have anything? Anything else you wanna offer? We're ready to absorb today. Nobody have anything else?
Pretty well done with the work plans, aren't we?
As far as I know.
There's only a couple of months that we don't have something next year. June,
On the list, you mean? That's already there.
June, January. Oh, that's 19. Yeah, February, March, and June.
Yeah. Nothing in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be-
You anticipate we'll probably have a December meeting, but not in February yet?
Well, that's what I've heard, I don't know. Nobody tells me how about it.
We call you.
I just lucky I show up, what's wrong? I haven't heard. But when do we get that?
Kind of been the plan, it's not having a February meeting.
You just wanna take a vacation.
Well, it had been that, all the departments
I
pretty much
know.
take care of it.
We'll see. Maybe we get somebody out there. Live here. Okay.
You collect these, Sharon?
Eventually.
Does anybody want to,
Second.
Motion, second,